Welcome to Fireside Gaming. I'm Billum, and may the 4th be with you. I've never really joined in on the Star Wars celebration with this channel, but I figured now was as good a time as any. See, I just recently picked up a physical Switch copy of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer that was sitting all by itself on a Walmart discount shelf. The poor thing looked like it really needed a home, and I was more than happy to pick it up. It seemed like an easy buy for $18 as it comes bundled with Republic Commando too. Both of these are games that I've played before, and I'll go ahead and say that I am a big fan of the setting of the Star Wars prequel trilogy. We really had loads of great games coming out back in that era, such as Battlefront 1 and 2, the Jedi Starfighter games, Jedi Outcast. It was just filled to the brim with wonderful games. And it's such a shame that the sequel trilogy didn't kick off the same kind of renaissance with new games set during it. But one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to pick up this bundle was to get myself a new copy of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. It's a game that I loved in my youth, and it was my first game for the Nintendo 64. Granted, that is kind of cheating since it was the game that came bundled with the N64 my parents bought my siblings and I for Christmas one year. And strangely enough, it was considered a limited edition, despite still just being a standard N64 and gray controller, but bundled with the game. It kinda pales in comparison to some of the other special N64s that came out. But no matter the case, we're here to talk about the game, not the console. If you've never played Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which I'm just going to refer to as Pod Racer from now on because that name is way too much of a mouthful, then you are really missing out. This is one of those high-speed futuristic racing games that really puts you on the edge of your seat. It's a genre that I greatly enjoy, and this was my first introduction to it. I did later get into more of the other well-known series, such as F-Zero and Extreme G, but this is where my love for peel-your-skin-off racing games began. And I'm happy to report that Pod Racer still feels incredible to play today. It's got easy to get the hang of controls with a button for braking, a button for acceleration, the ability to turn the pod sideways, turning of course, and a taunt button to throw shade at other racers. And the sense of speed that it grants it's just great. There's nothing better than seeing all of that terrain pass by you in a blur as you boost down the track. Boosting is among one of the more unique mechanics to this game. And before anyone says it, yes, boosting is obviously a staple feature in racing games. But it's how Pod Racer handles boosting that makes it stand out. Rather than just pressing a button to boost, players will have to first hold the control stick forward and build up a boost bar that replaces the speedometer. When it reaches to the top of the normally green circle, it turns yellow, and that's the sign to boost. While boosting, players have limited turning but gain incredible speed. The boost bar also fills, and if you let it get to the top, it will cause an engine fire. This is something that I really love, as it'll actually start making this beeping warning sound, and it becomes like a thing to see, can I get any more boost out of this before I have to stop? And, if you don't, then engine fire, potentially blown up engine. But that's not to say that this is the end of your racing career, thanks to another neat mechanic in Pod Racer. Players can repair their engines mid-race, but doing so slows them down. More than just boosting can damage your engines, such as slamming into walls. Do this too often without repairing, or at too high of a speed, and you're gonna find yourself spiraling out of control with just one engine before finally blowing up. This sets players back a few seconds, and if it happens too often, it can really give rival racers a strong lead over you. Of course, you can get around some of these problems by buying new parts for your Pod Racer. These are available at both Watto's shop and Junkyard. Several aspects of Pod Racers can be upgraded, resulting in better handling, braking, acceleration, higher top speeds, quicker repairs, and more. Players can also buy pit droids that will repair their upgraded parts between races. The more droids you have, the faster repairs go, with a max of 3 being available. Also, I love how the game lets you zoom around the hangar checking out the droids as they repair the damaged Pod Racer between races. It's a small thing, but something that I always found fun. Pod Racer comes with 25 different tracks to race on and spreads them across 8 planets. The tracks are split between 4 cups, with the first 3 containing 7 tracks each and the final one having 4 tracks to race on. It's worth noting that tracks on the same planet will reuse certain parts, which makes them a bit less unique. However, the wide variety of track types is still nice, and you get plenty of different environments across the different planets. There are also loads of racers you can play as, with each of their pods having their own stats. You can go plain white bread and race as Anakin if you want, but I've always been a fan of E.B. Endicott, and I used him for most of my playthrough. The one time I did change was when I unlocked Sebulba near the end of the game. I only used him for a couple of races, and it was mostly just to capture footage of his flamethrower, which is a unique feature only he can activate. Even then, I never managed to hit another racer with it because I was just too far ahead of them most of the time. Players that want to can experience 2-player mode, but it's not something I really dove into. There's also time attack and free race modes available as well. The latter of those is actually a good way to explore tracks and look for secrets. It's not an exaggeration to say that every track comes with secrets to cut down on time, and they are worth knowing about. I'd even go so far as to say that some are vital if you want to take the top spot in a few of the later races. So I'm playing the Switch re-release of Pod Racer, and some of you might be wondering how it compares to the original. Truthfully, not much has changed. The graphics have been upscaled, for better or for worse, but some elements of the HUD remain choppy like they were on the N64, or whichever version this port is based on. The audio is still crunchy too. You could close your eyes and think it's coming from an old tube TV. This doesn't bother me at all, but I figured I should mention it. And the score remains the same, with the soundtrack of The Phantom Menace being reused in this game. It actually works quite well too, which is just a testament to how good of an OST that movie has. To summarize, I had a lot of fun with Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I basically paid less than $10 for a physical copy of it on Switch, and it runs well. The fact that it's an upscaled port and not much else might not sit well with people, and I completely get that. This was just one of those few times where that didn't bother me too much, and I'll take it for the portability it brings and not having to dig out my N64 to play the original. Did you play this game back in the day, or maybe pick it up with the re-release? Maybe you have the limited edition N64 bundle. If so, let me hear about your experiences with pod racing in the comments. Thanks for joining me for this trip down blazingly fast memory lane, and until next time, take it easy.